Hey y'all, welcome to the Filling Station. It's been an interesting day in the market, let's say that. But first, y'all, let me go ahead and give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth. And yes, the stock market is just one of those avenues. So this video is for educational purposes only. With that being said, let's get started. Yes, it's been an interesting day, right? So we are looking at AMD. We sold at 165.45 this morning pre-market. During our pre-market prep, we broke out of that as soon as that bell rang, right? This was our 9:30 candle, making sure. Yes, we came down to this area. Looks like we found some support in this area, only to we tried to take it back to the upside, got rejected, and come back to the downside. What's interesting for AMD is that, you know, it just traded sideways after that. So if you were able to get into that first morning, that would have been good. But that sideways movement, looking at it on the 30-minute chart, I always go there because it's easier for me to see it, right? So look, this is the 5-minute. Again, buying off of rejection, we could have entered the trade here, rode that to the downside. This up and down type thing, I try not, yeah, it's to each his own. Let me see. To each his own. And if you're a scalper, you can get in and get out really, really quick. You could have got some really good moves on AMD. However, I think the better move would have been that morning drop, right? Because watching it here go sideways for a while, it seems like we bounced off of this low of 158, around 158.23, and as you can see, we had that marked. We knew. Let me see if I can fix that so you don't see. We're not looking at all of those lines, right? So we knew we could have trouble in this area, and that's exactly what it did on this 5-minute chart. It looks like it gave us a double bottom, bounced off of that, and look what our MACD did. It crossed back to the upside. So again, if you're a scalper, you could have gotten in, scalped some moves on AMD today. That was really, really, good. Let me say that. So let's go back to the 30-minute chart, and it seems like we closed at 159.75. Which is kind of towards the bottom. What's interesting is this area of 158.23, this bounce here, and we're still under the 5 EMA. So are we going to continue to the downside? That's what we need to pay very close attention to for AMD. So if you were able to trade AMD today, congratulations on that trade. This is the daily chart for AMD, and I know, yes, it is a little congested, right? So it looks as if, we are coming back to the downside. We are under the 5 EMA on this daily chart. So that's something to be mindful of right here. So I would definitely watch if it should go back to the upside above 161.77. It would definitely need to break above that based on the daily chart. So, yeah, if you traded AMD today, congratulations on your trade. In my opinion, that first morning trade would have been the very best trade, and it just went sideways from there, only to come down here and find support right here at the 159.52. We closed at 159.75, and that's, yeah, something to think about, right? So let's look at NVIDIA. I looked at SMCI and was like, what in the world happened? I've thought about that as we're waiting on NVIDIA's chart to load. There we are. What in the world happened until I realized I had a stock split. So yeah, that's interesting in itself. Now, this is NVIDIA. Again, looking at it on the 30-minute chart, it looks as if that morning trade would have been the best trade, right? Because we came up to this high, broke through this high of 122.28 is where I had it as resistance. We came up to 122.44, which is not that far away, right? We knew we could have trouble in this area of here. Let's say that, right? So that morning trade would have been the best trade to come buy it off the top and ride the wave to the bottom. So that 122 down to the 115, that would have been a decent trade. But that trading sideways thing right here, I probably would have got out of trade here around the 117, and I'd have dealt with the $2 difference or $1 and something difference, right? You got to know when to get in and when to get out, because sometimes if you overstay your welcome, you're going to, especially with the SPY, you're going to lose money just because of time. So that's something to think about. Again, I am a scalper. I normally go in and get out, go in and get out. So again, with NVIDIA, that morning trade would have been the better trade. Now, we did close at 117, and we have support at 116.34, so we could very well. What's interesting is how we come down to this area of 115.79. I have the 115. Let's see, 115.97. We made a low of 115.79, but look where price came back to this area. The body of the candles is right there on the line that we had marked, and we knew that we could find support in that area, and that's exactly what happened. We came down, found support, and bounced back to the upside. Now, We did get rejected here, only to come back under the 5 EMA. So that's something to be mindful of for NVIDIA. And interesting as it is, right, we are right here at this ATR trailing stop. So that kind of helped us find that support and not, continue to the downside. So tomorrow, I would definitely be careful if we open under the 115.79 area for NVIDIA. If we come down under this 115.79, we broke through that level of support. So I would definitely watch it in that area. I'm going to go and just see. Yes, and this 116.34 is an interesting place here because it was a previous gathering spot. And look, y'all, we're not that far from it right now. And this was around, let's see, the 24th, September 24th area. So we're back in the same area for NVIDIA as we were September 24th. That is interesting to watch. Pay very close attention to if you trade NVIDIA. So I'm going to go to the daily chart just to see where we are. And again, this is the 4-hour chart. We see that we're back in that zone. We ran up only to come back down in that zone. And we have tested this area a few times. So are we going to bounce from here and move back to the upside? That's something to think about or be mindful of. Or are we going to, lose our support here because we've been at this place a few times only to continue to the downside? So for NVIDIA, what will be interesting is if we open tomorrow under 115.38, around the 115, under 115, I would be concerned, right? Because this is a strong area of support for NVIDIA. And if we open under that, that means we've broken through that layer of support. So yeah, NVIDIA was, if you caught it first morning, that would have been that was a good trade. So this is NVIDIA on the daily chart, and what's interesting is it looks like we are declining. That 50 EMA, which is right here, is our support that we definitely need to watch. That's the 116.34. That's right where we said, we need to be careful. Let's see if we can go back to that really quick. 116.34 is where I have marked here, and on the daily chart, that is a strong support area. That is where the 50 EMA is. So we definitely need to watch that 116 area, 116.34. If by chance we break under this level of 115.38, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger without messing it up. Let me say that. Only to show you how price have come back to this area a few times for NVIDIA. Here, and it's trying to get back to this place again. So if we should break under this level here of under the 115, we could very well decline for NVIDIA. So that's something to be careful with or mindful of if you trade NVIDIA. Again, this is looking at it on the daily chart. I would definitely watch that 116.34 area, which was our strong support area here. And we see that based on, look, the candles about, this is our gathering spot based on the daily chart, and we're kind of like back in that area. So again, under 115 for NVIDIA tomorrow would be interesting. So I would definitely watch that, right? So we are going to Tesla. Tesla is Tesla. I say that often. And looking back at Tesla's chart, it was interesting to see, again, this is the 5-minute chart. If you caught Tesla at the beginning of the, as soon as the bell rung to trade to the downside, that would have been a really good trade. It went from 263.98 all the way down to 248.53. Look, let's go to that 30-minute chart just to look at that drop, right? So we could look the gathering spot. If you can locate your gathering spot and trade when it breaks out of that, I always say trade the breakout, right? So this would have been a great example of Tesla bouncing off of buying off of resistance. Tesla got resisted, met some trouble in this area right here, came down only to find support in an area that we knew right here at the 256, right? And so if you traded Tesla from here to here, that would have been a very nice trade, right? But looking at it on a smaller time frame, we continue declining. We broke through this ORB low, or this Fibonacci. The low is here, and this Fibonacci retracement line here, which is the two red dot lines. The thicker one is the low. That's the fib level here. We broke through that. So yeah, that would have been a really nice trade today if you got in it at the right time. And we had confirmation right here, right at the open, that MACD here, that gave us a signal. For me, that breaking out of the gathering spot, that MACD here, that was my signal to enter Tesla, but I did not trade that today. So if you traded Tesla today, congratulations. Again, as soon as that opening bell came, that would have been a great trade for Tesla. Now, as you can see, this is a smaller time frame. That little wavy type thing up and down, I normally don't like to trade that, but if you're a scalper and you can do what works best for you, right? So as of right now, what do I see for Tesla? let's see, if by chance we break under this level of 257.05, which is, right where we are, right? Looking at it on this 30-minute chart, under 256.73 or 75 area, it will be interesting. We close at 258.02. So if Tesla opens down tomorrow, especially under this 256 area, we've broken through some layers of support. I would say, 256.66, and then at 256, even if we open under the 256, we've lost some support only to possibly come back down to the 254 area. So I would definitely watch Tesla if you trade Tesla. And I always say Tesla exceeds its ATR for the day, and that could be in either direction. It normally moves, let me see, $9.19. And I know this chart probably looked really congested, but I like Tesla, let me say that. So we have been moving up with Tesla. Is this going to be our rejection place? That's the thing to be mindful of. This area here, the pink line here at 261.52, is this going to be our rejection place? Is this going to give us, do we have signals here that we're getting ready to go back to the downside? Can this be a hanging man here? This one, and are these hanging man candles? That's something to be mindful of. Is Tesla giving us a signal on the daily chart that we're about to reverse back to the downside? That's something to be mindful of. So if you traded Tesla today, again, in my opinion, that opening trade, as soon as the bell rung, that would have been a really good trade from the 263 down to the 248. And y'all can see here, looking at it on this 30-minute chart, we came down. I have a low here of 248. Let's see, I have 249.05 as a support area, and the low of this candle was 248.53. So we came down only to go back up, and it seems like that support was around a 249.65, which is this area here, because as you can see, price really stopped at the 250.07 range. So that's kind of close, right? So that's something to be mindful of with Tesla. And Tesla does what Tesla does. Let me say that. Now the SPY is what was interesting for me today. And again, y'all, I do apologize if it's taking a little bit longer for my charts to load. We are still without power, but I always say, y'all, we're making the best of what we have. We're getting through day by day, one day at a time. Let me say that. So if you've been affected, definitely praying for you, praying for everyone's safety. Okay, so now we are looking at the SPY. SPY had created a gathering spot for us right here. We see that, right? Right here is our gathering spot. Looking at it pre-market, that's where we were. As soon as we broke out of that to the downside, we broke through a lot of layers of resistance or support. We broke through a lot of layers of support, let me say that. And if you got into the SPY at that opening trade, it seemed like everything was just went down as soon as the bell rang, right? So if you got in the SPY right at this opening trade, that would have been a nice trade to the downside. So it seems as if the high of this candle was 573.46. Look, we came down and made a low of 566. So if you got in it at the top up here at 573 and rode this train all the way to the downside of 566, that was a nice trade. Again, me being me, I would have gotten out here at this 567.19. Because of, look what the MACD has got, some some moving and some crossing and some stuff that I really don't like to see. So I would have been okay with this trade to the downside, made profit, got out, waited on this move here. This is a bounce, and y'all, it's something about this type of pattern with the SPY. These three candles right here, I noticed that it's kind of like in a U kind of, or L, or however you want to see it. But these three candles here, when I see this on a 5-minute chart, it's a signal, another sign for me that SPY could very well reverse back to the upside, and that's exactly what it did. Our MACD gave us a signal here. We made 3 higher highs here. Even though we had some trouble to this place here, that was something that we could have just watched if you like to scalp the SPY. Let me say that. So, yeah, the SPY was definitely interesting today. This move here, it brought us back to this level here of 566.20, 566 area. So tomorrow, just knowing that 566 area was strong support for us, there's a couple of lines here. We come back to this area again, only to bounce and move back to the upside. So what's interesting for the SPY is if we break if we open tomorrow under the 567.82, that's going to be a level of support. So we definitely need to watch that, because if we do, we could very well continue declining. Just know that that 566 area is going to be a strong support for us. So yeah, if you traded today, congratulations. I hope that everyone had a very profitable day and a learning day, or a learning day, right? I always say knowledge is powerful once it's applied. So again, if you could please like, share, comment, and subscribe. We learn and we grow together. So until next time, y'all be blessed, as well as a blessing unto others.